The Friday evening shift at Bella Not was running smoothly until table 7 arrived. 4 men in expensive suits, the kind that screamed money and danger in equal measure. The kind of men who made the other servers suddenly very busy with tasks that kept them far from that particular table. I'd been working at Bella Notte for 6 months, and I'd learned to read the room. These weren't regular customers celebrating a promotion or anniversary. These were men who expected deference, who were used to getting exactly what they wanted without asking twice. The host seated them in the corner booth, the one with a view of both entrances. Strategic. I watched from the server station as they settled in, their body language radiating controlled power. "Your section, Julia," Rosa whispered, relief evident in her voice. "Good luck." "Thanks for the confidence," I muttered, but I was already smoothing down my apron, squaring my shoulders, and heading toward table 7. As I approached, I caught fragments of their conversation. Italian. Not the textbook Italian I'd learned in school, but rapid, colloquial Italian peppered with words I recognized from my childhood. "Buonasera, signori," I greeted them with a smile. "Welcome to Bella Notte. My name is Julia, and I'll be taking care of you this evening." 4 pairs of eyes turned to me, but it was the man at the head of the table who held my attention. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. Strong jaw, straight nose, lips that looked like they rarely smiled. But it was his eyes that stopped me. Deep brown, almost black, assessing me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. "Water for the table," he said in English, his accent noticeable but refined. "And the wine list. Of course. Still or sparkling water?" "Sparkling. San Pellegrino." I nodded and turned away, very aware that I could feel his gaze on me as I walked back to the server station. "That's Alessandro Marchesi," Rosa hissed when I returned. "Do you know who that is?" I shook my head, filling a pitcher with San Pellegrino. His family owns half the restaurants in Little Italy, and according to rumors, they have connections, the kind you don't ask about. She lowered her voice even further. "Be careful, Julia. Men like that are dangerous." I delivered the water and wine list, acutely aware of the weight of Alessandro's stare. He barely glanced at the list before ordering, "Bring us the Brunello di Montalcino, the 2015, and for appetizers, the burrata and the carpaccio." Excellent choices. I'll put that in right away. As I turned to leave, one of the other men spoke in rapid Italian. "È carina. Troppo carina per essere solo una cameriera. She's pretty. Too pretty to be just a waitress." My hand tightened on my notepad, but I kept walking. Comments like that were part of the job. I'd learned to ignore them. But then Alessandro responded, also in Italian, his voice cold. "Stai zitto, Marco. Lei sta facendo il suo lavoro." "Shut up, Marco. She's doing her job." I shouldn't have said anything. Should have pretended I didn't understand. But something in Marco's dismissive tone, combined with Alessandro's unexpected defense, made me pause. Without turning around, I replied in Sicilian dialect, the language my mother had spoken to me every night before bed, the language of my childhood summers in Palermo. "Grazie per la difesa, ma pozzo badare a mia stessa." Thank you for the defense, but I can take care of myself. The silence that followed was deafening. I turned slowly to find all 4 men staring at me with varying expressions of shock. But it was Alessandro's reaction that made my breath catch. He'd gone completely still, his eyes locked on my face with an intensity that made me feel stripped bare. "You speak Sicilian," he said finally, his voice rougher than before. "My mother was from Palermo. I spent my summers there as a child. Your accent." He stopped, switching to Sicilian himself. "Uni in Palermo?" "Where in Palermo?" "Ballaro. My grandmother still lives there." Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, interest, something I couldn't quite name. "That's my neighborhood. I grew up 3 streets from the Ballaro market." The connection hung in the air between us, unexpected and somehow significant. Around us, his men had gone quiet, watching this exchange with obvious curiosity. "Your wine," I managed, needing to break whatever spell had fallen over the table. "I'll bring it right away." I fled to the bar, my heart hammering. What had I been thinking? Drawing attention to myself, engaging with a customer, with Alessandro Marchesi, in a way that went far beyond professional service. But when I returned with the wine, Alessandro's eyes followed my every movement. I poured carefully, hyper-aware of his scrutiny. "How long since you've been back?" he asked in Sicilian as I finished pouring. "To Palermo? 5 years. I couldn't afford the trip after my mother died. I'm sorry for your loss." The condolence was genuine, his voice gentling. "Your mother taught you well. Your dialect is perfect. Not many Americans can speak true Sicilian. She wanted me to remember where I came from." I set down the bottle. "Will there be anything else, signore?" "Alessandro," he corrected. "Call me Alessandro." That felt dangerous. Too familiar, too much like crossing a line I couldn't uncross. "Will there be anything else, Signor Marchesi?" His lips quirked, almost smiling. "For now, no. But Giulia..." The way he said my name, with the proper Italian pronunciation, made it sound like poetry. "Don't go far. I'll want to talk more." It wasn't a request. It was a statement of fact, delivered with the confidence of a man who was used to getting what he wanted. The rest of their dinner passed in a blur. I served their courses, refilled their wine, tried to maintain professional distance. But every time I approached the table, Alessandro's eyes found mine. Sometimes he spoke to his men in Italian, rapid business discussions that I tried not to understand. Other times he'd switch to Sicilian, asking me questions about Palermo, about my mother, about my life. It felt like an interview. Like he was cataloging information, building a file in his mind. "You should come back," he said as I cleared their dessert plates. "To Palermo. The city has changed, but the heart of it remains the same. Someday, when I can afford it." What if I said I could make that happen? I looked at him sharply. "I don't accept charity, signore. Not charity. An opportunity." He pulled out a business card, writing something on the back before handing it to me. "My mother still lives in Ballarò. She runs a small restaurant. Nothing fancy, but the food is incredible. She's been looking for help, someone who understands the neighborhood, who speaks the dialect. Someone she can trust, Signor Marchesi. Alessandro. And before you refuse, know that this isn't pity. My mother is particular about who she allows in her kitchen. The fact that you speak proper Sicilian, that you're from the neighborhood, that you carry yourself with respect, these things matter to her. I have a job here. That pays what? Minimum wage plus tips?" He leaned back, studying me. "My mother would pay better. And you'd be doing something meaningful, preserving tradition, teaching the next generation? Why?" The question burst out before I could stop it. "Why do you care?" "Because hearing you speak Sicilian reminded me of home, of my grandmother who raised me, of traditions that are dying because young people don't value them anymore." His voice held an unexpected sadness. "You have a gift, Giulia, the gift of language, of culture. It would be a waste to spend it serving wine to people who don't appreciate it." The check came. Alessandro paid in cash, leaving a tip that made my eyes widen. $500 on a $200 meal. That's too much. It's exactly right. He stood, his height even more imposing up close. "Think about my offer. The number is on the card. Call any time." They left, and I stood holding the business card, feeling like my life had just tilted on its axis. Later, after my shift ended, I studied the card under the streetlight outside the restaurant. Alessandro Marchesi, a phone number, and on the back, written in bold script, "Per quando sei pronta a tornare a casa." For when you're ready to come home. I should throw it away. Should recognize this for what it was. A wealthy man's interest in a waitress, dressed up as a job opportunity. But as I walked home through the city streets, I couldn't stop thinking about Alessandro's eyes when I'd spoken Sicilian. The recognition there, the hunger, not sexual or not entirely sexual, something deeper, a longing for connection to something he'd lost, and God help me, I felt it too. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Did you make it home safely?" My breath caught. "How did you get my number?" David was very helpful when I explained I wanted to ensure my favorite server arrived home without incident. "I'm not your favorite server. You just met me, and yet here we are. Are you home?" I looked up at my apartment building. "Yes." "Good. Lock your doors. This neighborhood isn't safe at night. I've lived here for 3 years. I know how to take care of myself. I don't doubt it. but knowing you're safe helps me sleep better." I stared at the message, unsure how to respond. This felt intimate in a way that scared me. "Good night, Alessandro. Buonanotte, Giulia. Dream of Palermo." I did dream of Palermo that night, of narrow streets and market smells, of my mother's laugh and my grandmother's cooking, and somewhere in those dreams, Alessandro was there too, watching me with those dark eyes that seemed to see straight through to my soul. When I woke, there was a new message. "My mother would like to meet you. Sunday lunch, if you're free." This was moving too fast. I'd served him one dinner, spoken a few words in Sicilian, and now I was being invited to meet his mother? "I don't think that's appropriate." "Why not? You said your grandmother is in Palermo. My mother knew everyone in Ballarò. Perhaps they know each other. That's not the point." "Then what is the point, Giulia?" "Because from where I stand, the point is that I heard you speak my dialect and felt something I haven't felt in 12 years. The point is that you reminded me what home sounds like, and I'd like my mother to meet the woman who managed that. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. Sunday, 1 o'clock. I'll send a car. I didn't say yes, but you will. Because you're curious. Because you felt it too. He was right. Damn him, he was right. 1 lunch. That's all? For now. Those 2 words should have been a warning. Should have made me cancel, block his number. Forget Alessandro Marchesi existed. Instead, I spent Saturday agonizing over what to wear to meet the mother of a man I barely knew, who somehow felt like he'd been waiting for me my entire life. Sunday arrived too quickly. The car Alessandro sent wasn't the ostentatious limousine I'd half expected, but a sleek black sedan driven by a quiet man who introduced himself simply as Tomas. "Signor Marchesi asked me to ensure your comfort," he said, opening the back door. "The drive will take about 40 minutes. 40 minutes out of the city, into the suburbs where old Italian families had settled generations ago." I watched the landscape change through the tinted windows, my stomach a knot of nerves. What was I doing? Meeting the mother of a man I'd met once, who'd somehow convinced me this was normal. That Sunday lunch with strangers was a reasonable next step. But Alessandro had been right about one thing. I was curious. Desperately curious about this family that still spoke Sicilian, that maintained traditions my own family had let slip away after my mother's death. We pulled up to a modest house with an immaculately kept garden. Not the mansion I'd expected, but a home that looked lived in, loved. The smell of cooking tomatoes and garlic drifted through the open windows. Alessandro met me at the door. He looked different than he had at the restaurant. Softer somehow in casual slacks and a white linen shirt, sleeves rolled up. Almost approachable, if not for the intensity in his eyes when they found mine. "Giulia, you came. I said I would. People say many things. Few follow through." He stepped aside, gesturing me in. "My mother is in the kitchen. Fair warning, she's been cooking since dawn. She's excited." "Excited? I haven't brought a woman home in 5 years. She has expectations." My stomach dropped. "Alessandro, if you told her this is... if she thinks we're..." "I told her you speak Sicilian and your grandmother lives in Ballarò. That's all." But something in his expression suggested his mother had drawn her own conclusions. "Come. Meet her before she burns the sauce, checking the door every 30 seconds. The kitchen was exactly what I'd imagined. Warm, cluttered with copper pots and wooden spoons, every surface covered with food in various stages of preparation. And in the center of it all stood a tiny woman with steel-gray hair and eyes exactly like Alessandro's. She turned when we entered, and her face lit up with a smile that transformed her from intimidating to beautiful. "Ecco, tu sei Giulia." "There you are." "You're Giulia." She spoke in pure Sicilian, rapid and melodic, and I felt something in my chest crack open. "Sì, signora. È un onore per me." "Yes, ma'am. It's an honor for me." Her eyes widened, then filled with tears. "Senti. Senti come parla. Listen. Listen to how she speaks." She rushed forward, pulling me into a fierce hug that smelled like basil and home. When she pulled back, she cupped my face in both hands, studying me intently. "Unni in Palermo? Where in Palermo?" "Ballarò. My nonna Maria Romano, she lives on Via Maqueda. Maria Romano." Her hands flew to her mouth. "With the blue door? Who made the best caponata in the neighborhood?" You know her? Know her? We grew up together. Best friends until I married and moved here. She grabbed my hands. How is she? Still stubborn as a mule? Still stubborn. Still making caponata that everyone begs for. She laughed, a sound of pure joy, then turned to Alessandro with an expression I couldn't quite read. Tu sapevi? You knew? No, Mama, but I hoped. He stopped, looking at me. I didn't know about the connection. That's pure chance. There's no such thing as chance, his mother said firmly. Only fate. She turned back to me. Come sit, tell me everything. How is Maria? Does she still argue with Don Salvatore about whose grandfather made better wine? The next hour passed in a blur of conversation, all in Sicilian, all flowing as naturally as breathing. Alessandro's mother, call me Carmela, please. Signora makes me feel old. Asked a million questions about my grandmother, about Palermo, about my mother. Cancer, I said quietly when she asked how my mother had died. 5 years ago. She was only 52. Carmela's eyes filled with tears. And your father? He left when I was 10. It was just my mother and me after that. Then you understand what it is to be alone, to lose your roots. She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. You must miss her terribly, every day, especially her cooking. I try to make her recipes, but it's never quite right. Because you're missing the most important ingredient, Carmela said. Love mixed with memory. That's what makes Sicilian food special. Each dish carries the weight of everyone who made it before us. Alessandro had been quiet during this exchange, watching us with an expression I couldn't quite name. Now he spoke, his voice rough. Mama, perhaps Julia could help you in the kitchen, learn some of the recipes properly. Help me? Carmela looked offended. She'll teach me. If she learned from Maria Romano, she knows things I've forgotten. She stood, pulling me up with her. Come, we'll make pasta together. I want to see your hands work. Making pasta with Carmela felt like coming home. Our hands moved in sync, rolling and cutting, our conversation never stopping. She told me stories about my grandmother, about their childhood in Ballarò, about traditions I'd only heard about secondhand. Alessandro appeared in the doorway occasionally, watching us work. Once I looked up to find him staring at me with such naked longing that I nearly dropped the pasta I was holding. What? I asked in English, self-conscious. Nothing. You look right here, like you belong. Alessandro, Carmela said sharply in Sicilian, not looking up from her work. Stop staring at the poor girl like a starving man looking at bread. Go set the table. He left, and I felt my face burning. He likes you, Carmela said quietly. I can see it. The way he looks at you, I haven't seen that expression on his face in many years. Signora Carmela, I don't think... You don't have to think. Just feel. She paused in her work, meeting my eyes. My son is a complicated man. His life is not simple. There are things about our family, about our business that... She stopped, choosing words carefully. What Alessandro does, the world he lives in, it's not easy. But underneath all that, he's a good man, a loyal man, a man who loves deeply when he allows himself to love at all. We just met. And yet here you are, in my kitchen, speaking the language of my heart, making pasta like you've done it 1,000 times before. She smiled. Sometimes souls recognize each other immediately. My husband, Alessandro's father, I knew him 3 days before I agreed to marry him. People said I was crazy, but I knew. I felt it. What happened to him? Alessandro's father? Her face clouded. He died 10 years ago. Heart attack. But something in her tone suggested there was more to the story. Alessandro became the head of the family that day. He was 28, too young for such responsibility. Before I could ask more, Alessandro returned. Everything's ready. Mama, stop interrogating her and let her eat. Lunch was incredible. Course after course of perfect Sicilian food. Arancini, pasta alla norma, caponata, grilled swordfish, and finally cannoli that melted on my tongue. Through it all, we talked and laughed, switching between Sicilian and Italian. Occasionally English when Carmela wanted to practice. Your father would have liked her, Carmela said to Alessandro at one point. She has fire, intelligence, not like those empty-headed girls you usually... She stopped, glancing at me. Scusa, Mama. Alessandro's voice held a warning. What? I'm old. I can say what I think. She turned to me. My son surrounds himself with beautiful women who want his money. You're the first one who looked at him like he was just a man. Because that's all he is, I said quietly. Just a man who happens to speak my mother's language. Something passed over Alessandro's face. Surprise, pleasure, something deeper. After lunch, Carmela insisted I take home containers of leftovers. As she packed them, Alessandro walked me to the garden, away from his mother's hearing. "Thank you," he said, "for coming, for making my mother happier than I've seen her in years. She's wonderful. I can see where you get your intensity." He smiled, a real smile that transformed his face. "She likes you. That's rare. She's very protective of me. Because of what you do? Your business?" His expression shuddered slightly. "What has she told you?" "Nothing specific. Just that your life is complicated. That your family has connections." "And does that frighten you?" I thought about it. "It should, but mostly I'm just curious." "Curiosity is dangerous, Julia. So is whatever this is between us." I gestured between our bodies. "You know that, right? This isn't normal. Meeting your mother after one dinner service, feeling like I've known you for years when we just met. None of this is normal." "No," he agreed. "But it's real. I felt it the moment you spoke Sicilian, like finding something I'd lost and didn't know I was missing." "Alessandro, have dinner with me. A real date. Just the two of us. No mother, no business, no complications. Just Julia and Alessandro, getting to know each other." "Why me? You could have anyone. I don't want anyone. I want the woman who reminds me what home feels like. The woman who speaks my dialect like poetry. The woman who made my mother laugh for the first time in months." He stepped closer. "Give me a chance, Julia. Let me show you who I am when I'm not the man people fear." "People fear you?" "Some do, with good reason." His honesty was unsettling. "But I don't want you to fear me. I want you to know me, really know me." Before I could answer, Carmela called from the house. "Julia, before you go, I have something." She emerged with a small cookbook, handwritten, pages yellowed with age. My mother's recipes. Some of them Maria taught her. "I want you to have it. I can't accept—" "Yes, you can. And you'll come back next Sunday and tell me which ones you tried." She hugged me tightly, whispering in my ear, "Give him a chance. He's worth it." In the car ride home, I clutched the cookbook and thought about Alessandro's question. A real date. Just the two of us. It was dangerous. I barely knew him. His family had connections that Carmela wouldn't specify. His life was complicated in ways I couldn't imagine, but I'd felt it too. That recognition, that sense of coming home. My phone buzzed. "Alessandro. Mama already texted me 3 times about how perfect you are. Fair warning, she's already planning our wedding." Despite everything, I laughed. "That's premature, is it? Because I'm having trouble imagining my future without you in it, and we've known each other 4 days. That's insane. That's honest. Tuesday night. Dinner. Say yes." I stared at the message, my heart hammering. This was a mistake. Had to be a mistake. Yes, but somewhere quiet. Where we can actually talk. I know the perfect place. "I'll pick you up at 7. I can meet you, Julia. Let me do this properly. Let me court you the way my father courted my mother, with respect and intention. You're very old-fashioned for a dangerous man. You have no idea how dangerous I can be. But for you, I'll be whatever you need me to be. That should have scared me. Instead, it made me feel something I hadn't felt in 5 years. Hope. Tuesday evening found me standing in front of my closet for the 3rd time in an hour, trying to decide what one wore to dinner with a man whose mother thought we'd be married within the year. I'd spent Monday in a daze at work, mechanically serving tables while my mind replayed every moment at Carmela's house. Rosa had noticed immediately. "You have that look," she'd said during our break. "What look?" "The look women get when they're falling for someone dangerous." She'd studied me carefully. "Please tell me you're not actually considering something with Alessandro Marchesi." "It's just dinner. Nothing is just anything with men like him." She'd gripped my hand. "Julia, I care about you. Be careful. His world isn't like ours." Now, staring at my limited wardrobe, I wondered if she was right. If I was making a terrible mistake. My phone buzzed. Alessandro, I'm downstairs. No rush. Take your time. You're early. I've been early since 6:30. Couldn't wait any longer. But I didn't want to pressure you, so I've been sitting in the car like a nervous teenager. The image of Alessandro Marchesi, intimidating. Powerful Alessandro. Nervous about a date made me smile. Give me 5 minutes. I chose a simple black dress. Nothing too formal, but elegant enough for wherever he planned to take me. When I came downstairs, Alessandro was leaning against his car. A different one this time. A sleek silver Alfa Romeo that probably cost more than I made in 5 years. His eyes traveled over me, appreciation clear in his expression. Sei bellissima. You're beautiful. You're not too bad yourself. He'd dressed down slightly from the suit. I'd first seen him in dark slacks and a black button-down that somehow made him look more dangerous, not less. When he opened the car door for me, his hand brushed my lower back, sending electricity up my spine. Where are we going? I asked as he slid into the driver's seat. Somewhere we won't be interrupted, where we can talk without an audience. He pulled into traffic smoothly. I want to know everything about you, Giulia Romano. And I want you to know me, really know me. That sounds ominous. It's honest. There are things about my life, my family, that... He paused, choosing words carefully. That I need you to understand before this goes any further. Before what goes any further? He glanced at me, his expression intense. Before I fall completely in love with you and make it impossible for you to leave. My breath caught. Alessandro, too much? Too fast? He turned back to the road. I warned you. I'm not good at playing games. When I want something, I pursue it completely. We drove for 20 minutes, leaving the city behind, until he turned down a private road that led to the waterfront. A small restaurant sat at the end, lights twinkling against the darkening sky. I own this place, Alessandro explained as he parked. Well, my family does. We're closed Tuesdays, but I asked the chef to come in. It'll just be us. Inside was intimate and beautiful. Exposed brick walls, candlelight, a single table set near the windows overlooking the water. A man emerged from the kitchen, older, with kind eyes and a chef's whites. Alessandro, and this must be the famous Giulia. He kissed both my cheeks. I'm Giorgio. I've known this troublemaker since he was stealing cannoli from my kitchen. Giorgio was my father's best friend, Alessandro explained. And the best chef in 3 states. Flattery. But Giorgio beamed. Sit. I've prepared something special. Once we were alone, Alessandro poured wine, a white I didn't recognize, but that tasted like sunshine. Carmela called me yesterday, he began. Told me she wants you to come every Sunday. That you're family now, and family doesn't abandon family. She's very enthusiastic. She's lonely. My father's death hit her hard, and He stopped, jaw tightening. I'm not around as much as I should be. My business keeps me occupied. So seeing her light up around you, hearing her laugh, it meant everything. Tell me about him. Your father. Alessandro was quiet for a long moment, staring at his wine. My father was a complicated man. Brilliant, charismatic, beloved by some, feared by others. He built an empire from nothing. Came to this country with $10 and a dream, as they say. And the empire included. What? Restaurants? Restaurants. Real estate. Import-export businesses. He met my eyes. And other things. Things that operated in gray areas of the law. There it was. The truth I'd been dancing around. You're telling me your family is connected to organized crime. I'm telling you my father was. And when he died, I inherited everything. The legitimate businesses and the less legitimate ones. He leaned forward. I've spent the last 10 years trying to legitimize everything. Cleaning up the operations, cutting ties with dangerous people, moving money into legal ventures, but some connections, some obligations, you can't just walk away from. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know what you're getting into if you choose to be with me. I'm not just Alessandro, the man who speaks Sicilian and loves his mother. I'm Alessandro Marchesi, head of a family organization that some people fear and others want to destroy. There's danger. There's pressure. There's a world you can't imagine. You're trying to scare me away. I'm trying to be honest. His hand reached across the table, covering mine. Because, Giulia, I'm already half in love with you. And if I don't warn you now, if I let this go further and then you find out and leave..." His voice roughened. "That would destroy me." I turned my hand over, lacing my fingers through his. "I appreciate the honesty, but you're not the only one with complications. My father abandoned us. My mother died, leaving me with medical debt I'm still paying off. I work minimum wage at a restaurant and live in a studio apartment in a neighborhood that isn't safe. I'm not exactly a catch. You're everything." The intensity in his voice made me shiver. "You're intelligent, brave, connected to traditions I thought were dying. You speak the language of my childhood. You made my mother smile. You see me as a man, not a monster or a bank account. Do you have any idea how rare that is?" Giorgio appeared with the first course, giving us a reprieve from the heavy conversation. But throughout dinner, course after course of exquisite food, Alessandro kept asking questions. About my childhood, my dreams, what I wanted from life. "I want to go back to school," I admitted over the main course. "Get a degree in linguistics. Maybe teach Italian or work as a translator. But I can't afford it right now." "What if you could? What if money wasn't an issue? It's always an issue when you don't have any. But if you did, hypothetically, what would you do?" I thought about it. I'd move to Palermo, spend a year with my grandmother, really learning the dialect, the culture. Then I'd come back and teach. Preserve the language before it disappears completely. "That's beautiful and specific," he smiled. "You've thought about this. Every day. It's the dream that keeps me going through double shifts and rude customers. Then let me help make it happen." I set down my fork. "Alessandro, I'm not offering charity. I'm offering an investment. In tradition, in culture, in someone who clearly has passion and talent for this work." He leaned forward. "My family has money. A lot of money. Some of it earned legitimately, some not. But what's the point of having it if I can't use it to help someone deserving? To preserve something important? I can't accept— Why not? Because we just met? Because you think it comes with strings?" His eyes held mine. "The only string is that you allow me to continue getting to know you, to take you to dinner, to call you, to maybe, eventually, convince you that I'm worth the risk. You're very persuasive. I'm very determined. There's a difference." After dinner, we walked along the waterfront, the sound of waves against the dock filling the comfortable silence. "Can I ask you something?" I said finally. "Anything. Your mother mentioned your father died of a heart attack, but something about the way she said it." I stopped, unsure if I was overstepping. Alessandro's jaw tightened. "My father was murdered. Made to look like a heart attack, but we knew the truth. A rival family, someone he'd crossed years before. They waited until he was vulnerable and then..." He stopped, breathing carefully. "I was there. I watched him die and couldn't do anything. Alessandro, I'm so sorry." That's when I became head of the family. 28 years old, grieving, and suddenly responsible for an organization that included some very dangerous people. I had to be strong, had to show I wouldn't break, had to make decisions that... He looked at me, his expression raw. "That I'm not proud of." "What kind of decisions?" "The kind that ensured no one would ever hurt my family again. The kind that required violence." He cupped my face gently. "I'm not a good man, Julia. I've done things that would horrify you, but I'm trying to be better. For my mother. For the future. For..." He stopped. "For what?" "For you. So that maybe, someday, I can be someone you'd be proud to be with." I reached up, covering his hand with mine. "I don't need you to be perfect. I need you to be honest." Then honestly, I'm terrified. Terrified that you'll see the darkness in me and run. Terrified that I'm moving too fast and scaring you away. Terrified that this feeling, this certainty that you're meant to be mine, is one-sided. It's not. The words came out before I could stop them. One-sided, I mean. I feel it too. This connection, this sense of inevitability. It's terrifying. He kissed me then. Not gentle, not tentative, but claiming. His hands tangled in my hair, tilting my head back. Deepening the kiss until I forgot where we were. Forgot every reason this was dangerous. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. "Come home with me," he whispered against my lips. "Alessandro, not for... I just want you close. Want to fall asleep knowing you're safe. Want to wake up and see you're real. His forehead rested against mine. Please, I should say no. Should maintain boundaries, protect myself. Instead, I heard myself whisper, okay. His apartment was a penthouse overlooking the city, all glass and steel and expensive art. But it felt sterile, unlived in, like a showroom rather than a home. I don't actually spend much time here, Alessandro admitted, seeing my expression. Most nights I'm at my mother's or at one of the properties. This is more for business meetings than living. He gave me one of his shirts to sleep in, showed me to a guest room, and said goodnight with a kiss that promised more. But an hour later, as I lay in the massive bed unable to sleep, I heard movement in the apartment. I found Alessandro on the balcony, shirtless, staring at the city with a glass of whiskey in his hand. Can't sleep? I asked. He turned, his eyes dark. Too many thoughts. Too much wanting what I shouldn't want yet. What do you want? You, all of you. Not just your body, though God knows I want that too. But your thoughts, your dreams, your fears. I want to know every part of you. Want to be the person you turn to when things are hard? He stopped, setting down the glass. I want forever, Julia. And we just met. That's insane. Maybe. Or maybe sometimes you just know. I moved closer. Your mother knew in 3 days. And look how that turned out. My father died protecting his family. She's been alone for 10 years. Is that what you want? To fall in love with a man whose life is constantly in danger? I don't know what I want. But I know I want to find out. With you. He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. Don't leave me, he whispered. Whatever happens, whatever you learn about me, please don't leave. I'm right here. For now. But when you know everything, then tell me everything. Let me make an informed choice. So there on the balcony, with the city lights twinkling below us, Alessandro told me his story. About taking over his father's empire. About the violence he'd committed in those early years to establish dominance. About the people he'd hurt. The lines he'd crossed. About slowly, painfully, trying to build something legitimate from a foundation of blood. I can't undo my past, he said finally. Can't take back the things I've done, but I can try to be better moving forward. Can use my power to protect instead of hurt. Can build something my future children would be proud of. Future children? With the right woman. Someone strong enough to stand beside me. Someone who understands where I came from and still chooses to stay. His eyes held mine. Someone like you. I woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then memory returned. Alessandro's penthouse, his confession, falling asleep in his arms on the couch as dawn broke. I found him in the kitchen, already dressed in a suit, phone pressed to his ear as he spoke rapid Italian. When he saw me, his expression softened immediately. Devo andare, he said into the phone. I have to go. Sì, lo so. Dopo. Yes, I know. Later. He hung up, setting the phone down, and crossed to me. Good morning, beautiful. How did you sleep? Better than I have in months. I gestured at the shirt I was still wearing. His shirt. I should probably get home. I have a shift at 4. Call in sick. Alessandro. Or better yet, quit. Come work for my mother. She's already planning your schedule. I laughed despite myself. I've known her 5 days. I can't just upend my entire life. Why not? If you know it's right, why wait? He poured coffee, adding cream exactly how I liked it without asking. That was my cousin on the phone. There's a situation. I need to handle it today. But tonight, have dinner with me again. And tomorrow, and every night after that until you get sick of me. What if that never happens? Then I'm the luckiest man alive. He kissed my forehead. There's a car waiting downstairs whenever you're ready. Thomas will take you home and then to work if you insist on going. You're very presumptuous. I'm very hopeful. There's a difference. At work that afternoon, I was distracted. Rosa noticed immediately. You slept with him, she said, cornering me at the server station. We didn't. But you stayed with him. Julia, what are you doing? I don't know. Getting to know someone? Feeling something I haven't felt in years? Feeling something for a man whose family is connected to organized crime. She gripped my arm. I'm not judging. I'm worried. Men like Alessandro Marchesi, they live in a different world. A dangerous world. He's trying to leave that behind. To build something legitimate. And you believe him? The question stung because I did believe him. Maybe I was naive, but something in Alessandro's voice when he'd talked about his future, about building something better, it had been real, raw, honest. "Yes," I said finally. "I do," Rosa sighed. "Then be careful. And for God's sake, don't fall in love with him." But it was too late for that. I was already falling. That evening, Alessandro picked me up after my shift. But instead of a restaurant, he drove to his mother's house. "Emergency dinner," he explained. "Mama called 3 times insisting you needed proper food. Apparently she had a dream about you looking too thin and is convinced you're not eating enough." Carmela met us at the door, immediately pulling me into a hug. "Troppo magra, too thin. Come, I made pasta." Over dinner, because one did not simply have dinner at Carmela's, one had a feast. Alessandro's phone rang repeatedly. Each time his expression grew darker. "Scusa," he said finally, standing. "I need to take this." He stepped outside, and Carmela turned to me with knowing eyes. "There's trouble," she said quietly in Sicilian. "I can see it in his face." "What kind of trouble?" "The kind that follows families like ours. Old debts, old enemies." She reached across the table. "My son is trying to build a different life, a clean life, but the past doesn't let go easily." "What happened to his father, Signora?" "Alessandro said he was murdered, but he didn't tell you why." She was quiet for a long moment. "My husband made a deal with the wrong people, tried to expand our territory into areas controlled by the Russo family. There was a war. People died, and eventually they came for him. The Russo family? They're gone now. Alessandro," she stopped, choosing words carefully. "He made sure of it. Made sure they could never hurt us again. That's the man he had to become. That's the weight he carries." Alessandro returned, his expression grim. "Mama, I need to borrow Giulia for a moment." Outside, he paced the garden like a caged animal. "What's wrong?" I asked. "There's a problem. Someone from my past is back in town. Victor Russo, the son of the man who killed my father. He was just a kid then. We let him live, sent him away. But now he's back, and he's asking questions about me, about my businesses. About," he looked at me, "about you." My blood ran cold. "How does he know about me?" "Because I've been seen with you. Because in my world, people watch. They look for weaknesses. And you," his voice roughened, "you're my biggest weakness now." "Alessandro, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. But I need you to be careful. Stay aware of your surroundings. Don't go anywhere alone at night. And if anyone approaches you asking about me, you call me immediately." "You're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared. Victor Russo is dangerous. His father's blood is on my hands, and he wants revenge." He pulled me close. "But I swear to you, Giulia, I will protect you, whatever it takes." That night, Alessandro insisted on staying at my apartment. He looked absurdly out of place in my tiny studio. This powerful man in his expensive suit, sitting on my second-hand couch, eyes constantly scanning the windows like he expected trouble at any moment. "You don't have to do this," I said. "Stay here, I mean." "I'll be fine. I'm not leaving you unprotected. Alessandro, this is my life, my space. You can't just watch me." But his voice softened. "Please, Giulia, let me do this. Let me know you're safe. It's the only way I'll sleep tonight." We argued for another hour before I finally gave in. He took the couch despite my protests, his gun visible on the coffee table. The sight of it should have terrified me. Instead, I felt oddly safe. Around midnight, I heard movement. I found Alessandro on his phone again, speaking in rapid Italian, his voice cold in a way I'd never heard before. "Non mi importa cosa vuole. Se si avvicina a lei, è un uomo morto. I don't care what he wants. If he gets near her, he's a dead man." He hung up, sensing my presence, and turned. "Did I wake you?" "Who was that?" "My cousin. Marco. He's tracking Victor's movements. He was spotted near the restaurant today. Near your workplace." Fear spiked through me. "He knows where I work. He knows everything." Alessandro crossed to me, gripping my shoulders. That's why I need you to quit. Come work for my mother. Somewhere I can protect you. I'm not going to let some stranger dictate my life. He's not a stranger. He's a man whose father I killed. A man who has every reason to hurt me by hurting you. His eyes blazed. Please, Julia, do this for me. Let me keep you safe. One. Next morning, I called in my 2 weeks' notice at Bellanotte. David tried to talk me out of it, but I was firm. The truth was, Alessandro was right. Staying there, exposed, visible, it was dangerous. Carmela was thrilled when Alessandro told her I'd accepted the job at her restaurant. Finally, someone who understands the food, the language, the traditions. She immediately began planning my schedule, my responsibilities, how she'd teach me everything she knew. But the joy was short-lived. 3 days later, I was closing up Carmela's restaurant. She'd insisted I start immediately, giving me a key and treating me like family, when a man appeared in the doorway. Tall, blonde, with cold blue eyes and a smile that didn't reach them. Julia Romano, he said in accented English. I've been wanting to meet you. My hand moved to my phone, but he was faster, knocking it from my grasp. Don't. I'm not here to hurt you, just to talk. Who are you? Victor Russo. I believe you know the name. He moved closer, and I backed away, my heart hammering. I've been watching you, watching Alessandro follow you around like a lovesick puppy. It's quite touching, really. What do you want? Information. About Alessandro's operations, his weaknesses, his plans. Victor tilted his head, studying me. You must know things. Pillow talk, family dinners. Surely he's mentioned something useful. I don't know anything about his business. I don't believe you, but that's fine. We have time. He pulled out a knife, casual, like it was a normal prop. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to start paying attention, listening, learning, and you're going to tell me everything, or... The door burst open. Alessandro, with Marco and 2 other men, weapons drawn. Step away from her. Alessandro's voice was deadly calm. Now, Victor smiled. There he is, the great Alessandro Marchesi, coming to save his little waitress. Julia, come here. Alessandro's eyes never left Victor. I moved quickly, and Marco pulled me behind them, shielding me. This isn't over, Victor said, still smiling. I'll find another way. Another time. She can't be protected forever. Try to touch her again, and I'll finish what I started with your father. Alessandro's voice dropped to something terrifying. I let you live once out of mercy. Don't mistake that for weakness. Mercy. You killed my family, destroyed everything we built, and now... Victor looked at me. Now I'll do the same to you, starting with her. He left before Alessandro could respond, disappearing into the night like smoke. Alessandro turned, to me immediately, his hands running over me, checking for injuries. Are you hurt? Did he touch you? I'm fine. He just talked. He threatened you. In my mother's restaurant. On my property. Alessandro's expression was murderous. Marco, double the security. I want eyes on Julia 24 hours. No one gets near her. No one. Alessandro, I can't live like that. You can, and you will. He pulled me into his arms. Until Victor is dealt with, you're not leaving my sight. And I mean that literally. Alessandro wasn't joking about the protection. For the next week, I had a constant shadow. Marco or Luca, 2 of Alessandro's most trusted men, followed me everywhere. To work, to the grocery store, even to my apartment building lobby. It was suffocating. I can't live like this, I told Alessandro over dinner at his penthouse, the only place he considered truly secure. I feel like a prisoner. You're alive. That's what matters. His jaw was tight, the stress of the situation evident in every line of his body. Victor is still in the city, still making threats. Until he's dealt with, this is how it has to be. Then deal with him. The words came out harsher than I intended. Alessandro's eyes darkened. You think I'm not trying? You think I want you living like this? But I can't just... He stopped, running a hand through his hair. There are rules, protocols. If I move against Victor without cause, without proof of aggression, it starts a war. Other families get involved. People die. He threatened me in your mother's restaurant. Isn't that cause enough? His word against ours. No witnesses besides you. In my world, that's not enough. He reached across the table, taking my hand. But I'm working on it. Gathering information, building a case that the other families will accept. I just need time. And in the meantime, I live in a cage. In the meantime, you live, which is more than Victor would allow if he got his hands on you. The argument ended there, but the tension remained. I saw it in Alessandro's sleepless nights, heard it in his phone conversations conducted in rapid Italian when he thought I wasn't listening. The situation was eating at him. At Carmela's restaurant, I threw myself into work. Cooking gave me a sense of normalcy, of control. Carmela taught me her mother's recipes, correcting my technique with gentle hands and patient words. Alessandro is doing what he must, she said one afternoon as we rolled gnocchi. Protecting you, it's what men in our family do. But at what cost? He's barely sleeping, barely eating. This is destroying him. Not destroying. Testing. She looked at me with those knowing eyes. Love is easy when life is easy. But real love? It's forged in fire, in sacrifice, in choosing each other even when it's hard. I don't want him to sacrifice his peace for me. Then you don't understand men like my son. For Alessandro, you are his peace. Protecting you is protecting the only good thing in his life, as she touched my cheek gently. Let him do this. Let him be the man he needs to be. That evening, Alessandro picked me up from work as usual, Marco trailing behind in a second car. But instead of heading to the penthouse, Alessandro drove toward the waterfront. Where are we going? Somewhere we can breathe, just for an hour. He glanced at me, and I saw the exhaustion in his eyes. I need to be alone with you, really alone. No guards, no phones, no pressure. Just us. We ended up at the same restaurant, where we'd had our first date, Giorgio's place, closed and empty. Alessandro let us in with a key, leading me to the balcony overlooking the water. Sit, he said, pouring wine. We need to talk. My stomach dropped. Those words were never good. I've been thinking, he began, not meeting my eyes. About us, about what I'm asking of you. This life, this danger, this constant looking over your shoulder. It's not fair to you. Alessandro, let me finish. He finally looked at me, and the pain in his expression made my chest ache. I love you, Julia. I'm completely, irrevocably in love with you. But loving you means wanting what's best for you, and I'm starting to think that's not me. Don't. I stood, moving to him. Don't you dare push me away because you think you're protecting me. I am protecting you. From Victor, yes, but also from me. From this life. You deserve better than constantly being afraid, constantly being guarded, constantly wondering if today is the day something happens. I deserve to make my own choices. And I choose you, even knowing what it costs, what it will always cost. Yes. I cupped his face, forcing him to see the certainty in my eyes. I choose you, Alessandro. The danger, the complications, the sleepless nights, all of it. Because a life without you isn't a life I want. He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. We stayed like that for a long moment, just holding each other, before Alessandro's phone shattered the peace. He answered with a curse. Che cosa? What? I watched his expression go from annoyed to alarmed. Quando? Quanto tempo fa? When? How long ago? He hung up, already moving. We need to go, now. What happened? Victor made his move. Not against you, against my mother. His voice was deadly calm, the kind of calm that preceded violence. Someone tried to break into her house an hour ago. She's fine. The guards stopped them, but Victor is escalating. Yes, which means the rules have changed. He guided me to the car, his hand protective on my lower back. Marco, get Julia to the safe house. I'm going to my mother's. I'm coming with you, I said immediately. Absolutely not. She's scared. She needs people she trusts around her. And like it or not, she trusts me. I grabbed his hand. Let me help. Let me be there for her like she's been there for me. He studied me for a long moment before nodding. Fine, but you stay close to me. You don't leave my side. Understand? At Carmela's house, we found organized chaos. Guards everywhere, lights blazing, Carmela in the kitchen, stress cooking like her life depended on it. Julia. She rushed to me immediately, pulling me into a fierce hug. Thank God you're safe. I'm fine. But are you okay? Did they hurt you? No. The guards, they stopped the men before they got inside. But it was close. Too close. She gripped my hands. This is because of you. Because Alessandro loves you. Victor wants to hurt him through everyone he cares about. Mama, don't, Alessandro said sharply. Don't what? Tell the truth? But Carmela's tone softened. I'm not blaming her, figlio mio. I'm stating facts. Victor knows the way to destroy you is to hurt us. So we must be smart. We must be strong. Over coffee, because Carmela insisted crisis required caffeine, Alessandro made phone calls. I heard him speaking to other families, calling in favors, building a case. I need a meeting, he said finally. With the 5 families, tonight. Victor has broken protocol. He's made a move against a non-combatant. That's grounds for sanction. An hour later, we were in a private room at a restaurant I didn't recognize. Around a large table sat 5 men, all roughly Alessandro's age, all radiating the same controlled danger. Gentlemen, Alessandro began in English. For my benefit, I realized. Thank you for coming on short notice. I've called this meeting to address Victor Russo's recent actions. What followed was an hour of discussion, argument, negotiation. The other men questioned Alessandro's claims, demanded proof, suggested he was overreacting because of his feelings for me. With respect, one man said, Salvatore, I'd learned his name was, a woman you've known 2 weeks is causing you to break protocol. To demand action against a man who has every right to be angry. Victor has no right to threaten innocent people, Alessandro countered, his voice cold. My mother, Julia, they're not part of this business. They're not fair targets. Then perhaps you shouldn't have brought them into your life. Salvatore's eyes flicked to me. No offense, signora. I'd been quiet throughout, but now I spoke, my voice clear. Avevi un diritto di parlare di me come se non fossi qua. Do you have the right to talk about me like I'm not here? The room went silent. Salvatore's eyes widened. Vi parlassi in siciliano, I continued in Sicilian dialect. Picchi capisci tutti I vostri palori, e volia che sapistivo che non sogno solamente una femmina che si intriga ante l'affari di l'uomo, sogno siciliana. Capisci l'onori, capisci la famiglia, e capisci che ciò che sta facendo Victor è disonorevole. I speak to you in Sicilian because I understand all your words, and I wanted you to know I'm not just some woman getting involved in a man's business. I'm Sicilian. I understand honor. I understand family. And I understand what Victor is doing is dishonorable. Salvatore stared at me, then looked at Alessandro with new respect. She speaks the old language, the true dialect. My mother was from Ballarò, I said, switching to Italian. I understand the old ways. I understand that family is sacred, which is why Victor's attack on Signora Carmela is unforgivable. The mood in the room shifted. The other men began nodding, agreeing, seeing me not as an outsider but as someone who understood their world. She's right, another man said. Tony, from Brooklyn. Victor crossed a line. Carmela Marchesi is a respected woman. Attacking her, even just threatening her, it's beyond the pale. The vote, when it came, was unanimous. Victor Russo was to be brought before the families to answer for his actions. If he refused, he'd be declared an outlaw, fair game for anyone who wanted to move against him. Alessandro's hand found mine under the table, squeezing gratefully. But the victory was short-lived. We returned to the penthouse to find it had been broken into. Nothing taken, but a message spray-painted on the bedroom wall. She speaks Sicilian. How sweet. I wonder if she'll scream in it too. Alessandro stood frozen, staring at the words, his expression terrifying in its cold fury. He was here, in my home, left this threat. His voice broke. Julia, I can't keep you safe. Everywhere I turn, he's one step ahead. Then we end this. Tonight. No more waiting for meetings or protocols. I gripped his arms. You know where he is. You have the resources. End this, Alessandro. For your mother. For me. For us. He looked at me with tortured eyes. If I do this, if I move against him without full family approval, then you do it anyway. Because some things are worth the risk. I pulled him close. I'm worth the risk. We're worth the risk. Yes, he breathed. You are, he made the call. Within an hour, his men were mobilized. Victor Russo had declared war by threatening the women in Alessandro's life. Now Alessandro would finish it. Alessandro insisted I stay at his mother's house during the operation. Carmela, despite her fear, welcomed me with open arms and immediate coffee. He'll be fine, she said, though her hands shook as she poured. My son is strong, smart, he'll come back to us. How do you live like this? Knowing he's in danger? Because I have no choice. Because he's my son, and I love him. Because she stopped, meeting my eyes. Because sometimes the people we love do dangerous things, and all we can do is pray and wait. So we prayed and waited. Marco stayed with us, along with 3 other guards. The house felt like a fortress, every window covered, every door locked and bolted. Hours passed. Midnight came and went. Carmela fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from stress. I stood at the kitchen window, staring out at nothing, my phone clutched in my hand. At 2 a.m, it rang. Alessandro, it's done. His voice was rough, tired. Victor is dead. His men scattered. It's over! Relief flooded through me so intensely I had to grip the counter. Are you hurt? Minor cuts. Nothing serious. I'm coming to get you. We need to talk. Alessandro, I'll be there in 20 minutes. He arrived exactly on time, looking exhausted but unharmed. Marco nodded to him, stepping away to give us privacy. Walk with me, Alessandro said quietly. We walked through Carmela's garden, the night air cool against my face. Alessandro was silent for a long time, just holding my hand, his thumb tracing patterns on my palm. I killed him, he said finally. Not my men, me. I looked Victor in the eye and He stopped, jaw clenching. I wanted you to know, wanted you to understand what I'm capable of. I already know what you're capable of. You told me. Knowing and seeing are different things. And even though you weren't there, I need you to understand that this is who I am. The man who protects his family by any means necessary. The man who doesn't hesitate when the people he loves are threatened. I stopped walking, turning to face him. Do you think that scares me? That knowing you killed to protect your mother, to protect me, would make me love you less? Doesn't it? No. I cupped his face, forcing him to see the truth in my eyes. It makes me understand you better. Makes me see how seriously you take the responsibility of protecting the people you love. Julia. I love you, Alessandro. All of you. The man who speaks Sicilian and loves his mother. The man who kills to protect his family. The complicated, dangerous, beautiful man you are. I love all of it. He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. I don't deserve you. We've been through this. You're stuck with me anyway. He laughed, the sound rough but genuine. Good, because I'm never letting you go. We stayed like that for a long moment before Alessandro pulled back, his expression nervous in a way I'd never seen before. There's something I need to ask you. I was going to wait, do this properly, but... He reached into his pocket, pulled pulling out a small velvet box. "After tonight, after almost losing you, I can't wait anymore." My breath caught. "Julia Romano, I've known you 3 weeks. In that time, you've completely changed my life. You've reminded me what home sounds like, what family means, what it feels like to hope for a future worth building." He opened the box, revealing a stunning ring, a single diamond surrounded by smaller stones, elegant and timeless. "You've stood by me through danger and violence. You've faced down the 5 families in Sicilian dialect. You've loved me despite knowing exactly who and what I am. So I'm asking, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, my partner, my family?" Tears blurred my vision. "Yes. Yes, of course, yes." He slid the ring onto my finger with shaking hands, then kissed me deeply, desperately, like he was drowning and I was air. When we finally broke apart, we were both crying. "I promise you," he said, his forehead against mine. "I'll spend the rest of my life being worthy of this. Of you. You already are," we told Carmela the next morning. She cried, laughed, immediately began planning the wedding with an enthusiasm that was both touching and slightly terrifying. "June," she declared. "We'll have it in June, in the garden. Small, intimate, family only. And Julia, you'll wear my wedding dress. I kept it all these years. And we'll serve traditional Sicilian food. Nothing fancy, just real food made with love." "Mama," Alessandro interrupted gently. "Perhaps let Julia have some input." Of course. "Julia, what do you want?" I looked at Alessandro, at his mother, at the life we were building together. "I want exactly what you just described. Family, tradition, love, perfect." Carmela beamed. "Now let me call your Nonna in Palermo. She'll want to come for the wedding, and I have so much to tell her." Over the next few months, life took on a new rhythm. I worked at Carmela's restaurant full-time, learning her recipes, building a relationship with the regular customers, many of whom were part of Alessandro's extended family. Alessandro, true to his word, continued legitimizing his businesses. He cut ties with the last of his illegal operations, transferred dangerous assets to other families, focused on building something clean and lasting. "For our children," he said one night as we lay in bed in the penthouse we now shared. "I want them to be proud of their father, to not have to explain or defend what I do. How many children are we having?" "As many as you'll give me. Though Mama is already campaigning for at least 4. I laughed. 4 seems ambitious. "We'll start with 1 and see how it goes." His hand splayed across my stomach, possessive and tender. "But not yet. I want you to myself for a while first. Want to take you to Palermo, show you the city through my eyes. Want to travel, explore, build our life before we add to it." "That sounds perfect." The wedding took place on a perfect June day. My grandmother flew in from Palermo, crying the moment she saw me in Carmela's dress. The 2 old friends embraced like teenagers, immediately falling into rapid Sicilian conversation and stories. The ceremony was simple, held in Carmela's garden with only close family present. But when Alessandro and I exchanged vows, in Sicilian, at Carmela's insistence, there wasn't a dry eye in the garden. "Ti prometto," Alessandro said, his voice rough with emotion. "Ca ti proteggeru, ti rispetteru, e t'amarò tutti I giorni di la mia vita. Tu sei la mia casa, la mia famiglia, lumi cori. I promise I will protect you, respect you, and love you every day of my life. You are my home, my family, my heart. E io ti prometto," I replied through tears. "Ca staio cutiante li tempi belli e brutti. Ca parlerò sempre cutiante la lingua di lo nostro cori. Ca amarò la tua famiglia come è la me, picchi unni tu vai, io vaio. La tua genti è la me genti. Ente tutti li lingui di lumunnu, lume cori ti dici, sugnu tua. And I promise I will stand with you through good times and bad, that I will always speak to you in the language of our hearts, that I will love your family as my own, because where you go, I go. Your people are my people, and in all the languages of the world, my heart tells you, I am yours." When he kissed me as his wife, I tasted salt from both our tears. The reception was exactly what Carmela had promised. Simple, traditional Sicilian food, served family style, with everyone talking and laughing and sharing stories. At one point, my grandmother and Carmela performed a traditional Sicilian song together, their voices cracking with age but still beautiful. As the sun set, Alessandro pulled me aside to the garden's edge. "Happy?" he asked. "Incredibly. You?" "More than I ever thought possible." He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. "You know what I thought when I first heard you speak Sicilian? I thought, this woman is going to ruin me. Was I right?" "Completely. You ruined me for anyone else, ruined my carefully controlled life, ruined all my defenses." He kissed my forehead. "Best thing that ever happened to me? Even with all the danger? The complications? Especially with those. Because they showed me what you're made of. How strong you are. How brave." His eyes held mine. "You faced down the 5 families in my language. You didn't run when Victor threatened you. You chose me knowing exactly what that meant. That's not something I take lightly." "Good. Because I'm not going anywhere." "Promise me something," he said seriously. "Promise me we'll teach our children Sicilian. That we'll keep the traditions alive. That we'll make sure they know where they came from. I promise. And we'll take them to Palermo every summer. Let them run through Ballarò Market like we did. Let them learn from both our grandmothers, while we still have them. And we'll tell them the story of how we met. How their father heard their mother speak his language and knew immediately his life would never be the same. 6 months later, I stood in Carmela's kitchen, teaching a cooking class to young people from the community. The restaurant had become more than just a business. It was a cultural center, a place where traditions were preserved and passed down. "The key to good caponata," I said in Sicilian, then repeated in English, "is patience. You can't rush the flavors. Each ingredient needs time to develop, to marry with the others." Alessandro appeared in the doorway, watching with that expression I'd come to know so well. Pride, love, possessiveness, all mixed together after class. He pulled me aside. "I have news. The last of the transfers went through. Everything is legitimate now, clean, legal." He took my hands. "I'm just a businessman now. Boring, respectable." "You could never be boring?" "Maybe not, but I'm safe. And that means you're safe. Our future children will be safe. We can build something real, something lasting, without constantly looking over our shoulders. I'm proud of you. I know that wasn't easy. It was the easiest decision I ever made, because the alternative was losing you, and that's not something I could survive." That evening, over dinner at the penthouse, our home now, made warm and lived in with my touches, Alessandro shared more news. "I've been thinking about your dream. Palermo, studying linguistics, teaching the dialect." He pulled out an envelope. "There's a position opening at the university in Palermo, teaching Sicilian language and culture. It's a 3-year contract. I'd come with you, of course. We'd split time between there and here. Mama could visit, or we'd visit her. But Julia, this is your dream. The one you told me about that first night, and I want to help make it happen." Tears filled my eyes. "You remembered? I remember everything you've ever told me. Every dream, every hope, every small wish." He cupped my face. "Let me do this. Let me give you the world you've always wanted. You already have. You gave me home, family, love in a language I thought I'd lost." I kissed him softly. "But yes, let's go to Palermo. Let's teach the next generation. Let's build something beautiful together." 3 years later, I stood in a classroom at the University of Palermo, teaching advanced Sicilian linguistics to a room of eager students. Through the window, I could see Ballarò Market, bustling with life, exactly as I remembered from childhood. After class, I walked home through familiar streets, stopping to chat with vendors in dialect, picking up ingredients for dinner. Home now was a beautiful apartment overlooking the sea, close enough to my grandmother's house that she visited daily. Alessandro had opened an office in Palermo, managing his businesses remotely, spending his days building legitimate enterprises and his evenings with me. Carmela visited every month, staying in our guest room, filling our kitchen with cooking and laughter. I found Alessandro on our balcony when I arrived home, staring at the sea with a peaceful expression I'd never seen in those early days. "Buonasera, marito mio." Good evening. My husband. He turned, smiling, pulling me into his arms. "Buonasera, moglie mia." Good evening, my wife. His hand moved to my stomach, to the small bump that was just beginning to show. "And good evening to you too, little one," Carmela called. "She's demanding to know if we've chosen names yet." Of course she is. What did you tell her? That we're still deciding. Though if it's a girl, I think I'd like to name her after my mother. Lucia. Lucia Marchesi. Beautiful. He kissed my forehead. And if it's a boy? Your father, Dominic. Something passed over his face. Grief, gratitude, love. He would have loved you. Would have loved knowing his grandchild will grow up speaking Sicilian, knowing their heritage. Tell me about him. I want to know the man he was before everything. So we stood on the balcony as the sun set over Palermo, and Alessandro told stories about his father. The good memories, before the violence, before the weight of the family business consumed everything. He used to say, Alessandro said softly, that the measure of a man is what he builds for his children. Not money or power, but values, heritage, love. Then by that measure, you're already an extraordinary man. Only because I have an extraordinary wife. His arms tightened around me. You know what I realized the other day? That night at the restaurant, when you answered me in Sicilian. That was fate. That was the universe saying, here's your home. Here's your future. Don't miss it. And you didn't. No, I recognized you immediately. My home in human form. The woman who would speak my language and understand my heart. Ti amo. I love you. Ti amo puru io. Sempre. I love you too. Always. We stood like that as night fell over Palermo, the city lights twinkling below us, the sea breeze carrying the scent of salt and jasmine. Inside, our apartment waited, filled with books in Sicilian, my grandmother's recipes on the counter, Carmela's cookbook open to a page we'd cook from tomorrow. This was home. Not a place, but a language. A culture. A love so deep it had survived danger and violence and the weight of family history. And in a few months, we'd welcome a new generation. A child who would grow up bilingual, bicultural, wrapped in the love of two families who'd fought to preserve traditions that mattered. Do you ever regret it? I asked quietly. Leaving your old life behind? Giving up the power? Never. Not for a single moment. He turned me in his arms, his eyes holding mine. That life was survival. This is living.